Welcome to Behind the Brand, stories and strategies for building your creative business. This is brought to you by the Pinegateroad Studio. You're listening to episode 40. Welcome to Behind the Brand, stories and strategies for building your creative business. Here we take a deep dive into the brands of heart-centered businesses and entrepreneurs and unveil behind the scenes into how they're building their brands, as well as tips and tricks to how you can build your own dream business. I'm your host, Kelsey Kerslake, and I'm the founder of Pinegateroad, a branding studio for businesses and entrepreneurs ready to get their brands completely figured out. From finding your core values, making that beautiful brand identity that speaks to your ideal audience, to figuring out how to style and strategize your social media platforms and launch your new website, we're here to guide you each step along the way to build your dream business. Head to pinegateroad.com to get in touch today about working together. Hi guys, welcome to the show. I am pumped to have you here as always. I hope you're having a great start to your day or end to your day, whatever time of day it is. I hope it's going very well. So today I have Alisha of the Alisha Nicole on the show today, and she is a business coach that really helps people figure out how to get to those next big steps in their lives and really live their lives on purpose. So I'm so pumped to share what she has to say on the show today. She, just as a random side note, she just got married. So if you can go leave her some newlywed goodness and love over on her social media accounts, that would be awesome. It looks like she had a great time. So I, as a recent newlywed as well, I totally relate to all that she has going on. And I'm just excited that she has been building her business and planning her wedding and all of that fun stuff all at the same time. So head to her social media. The links are in the show notes if you want to head there. So thank you for spending this time with me, and I hope you enjoy the show. This week's Branding Bite has been brought to you by audibletrial.com. Head to audibletrial.com/pinegateroad for a free 30-day trial as well as a free download of your choice. So today on our Branding Bite, I want to talk about marketing to your email list or just marketing via social media in general. So I recently went through a launch for the Build a Booming Brand course, and I just wanted to say that I felt insane about the amount of emails and Instagram posts and everything that I was putting out there. But I just wanted to say that even if this might feel wrong or insane or like a lot of things to you, that it really does take at least 5 to 7 interactions with a brand message for somebody to even kind of want to trust in what you're doing. So you need to be able to have enough time to hit people with at least 5 to 7 marketing messages before they can become really interested in buying. And this isn't always going to be the case, but overall, you at least need that. So if you're only sending out 1 or 2 or 3 emails to your email list or doing a couple posts on Instagram, you're not going to get the results that you want. So you really need to make sure that you are sending things to people who have not opened your email. You can do that in ConvertKit, and that you're posting on Instagram and your social media multiple times a day in order to reach your audience. So this is just a friendly reminder that in order to build your brand and sell your services, you need to be telling people how they can hire you multiple times in order for them to do that. This week's Branding Bite has been brought to you by audibletrial.com. Head to audibletrial.com/pinegateroad for your free 30 days as well as a download of your choice. Hi, Alisha. How are you doing?
Hey, Kelsey. I'm great. How are you?
I am awesome. I am so pumped to get to talk to you today. I think we have a really, just like the same kind of core audience. So I think that just getting a different kind of perspective on what we're both doing is going to be so great to talk through, because I'm so pumped to learn from what you have to say and just share everything with the audience.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today.
Awesome. So I would love for you to start off by just talking about maybe just introducing yourself and then kind of going into what you do with your clients, what your brand is, and kind of how you got to your big why and how you got there.
Yeah. So again, I'm Alicia. I'm the brains behind thealicianicole.com. I'm the only brain actually behind thealicianicole.com. And I am a creative business coach for creative women. And I'm also an author too. So I have a book called The Blogpreneur. And I'm actually working on my second, hopefully to debut sometime this summer. Um, and what I do is I help creative women, mostly creative women who are looking to grow an online business. I help them to really gain clarity. So that means digging through all of their big, grand ideas and helping them figure out exactly which one is worth turning into an actual business. And I also help creative women who may have a big idea, but they're not exactly sure what to do with it, or they're needing kind of like those guiding steps to actually turn it into something profitable. So I work with clients 101. So we help them go through gaining clarity. I work on a bit of the fear side too, of helping them kind of figure out what exactly is holding them back from
Mm,
starting this big business outside of not, knowing exactly where to start. So before even
awesome.
any of that comes into play. So we talk about a lot of the fears and kind of like the self-doubt, and things that do hold a lot of creatives back. And then I also just help them to monetize their purpose or monetize their passions. So I'm a full believer in, even if you want to be a professional dog walker, or if you just love taking care of small children, that there is a way for you to still do what you love while also making a decent living out of it as well. So I also help my clients go through just setting up their different paths of like monetization, whether they want to go into offering services or digital products, or even have some clients who create physical products as well. So that's kind of my role, other than just blogging and creating video content and things like that for the site.
Awesome.
But yeah, so the Alicia Nicole kind of came to play on accident.
Oh, as
um,
most good businesses do.
yeah. So way back when, many, many years ago, my very first business was an online shop where I created and sold jewelry. So the Alicia Nicole really at that time was just like an outlet for me, because I didn't know of anyone who started a business. I had, no family members who were entrepreneurs. Like none of my friends understood why I would rather sit at home and, play with beads and string instead of going out. So I used the Alicia Nicole at that time as just kind of like an online journal mostly, and as a way for me to kind of document my journey and like the ups and downs of starting an online business. And I realized the more I was sharing my journey, the more I was sharing the things I learned, I started to gain a little bit of an audience of creative women who were just really interested in doing the same thing, but they were kind of, in the same place that I was in, where they had a big idea, but they had no clue how to get started. So the more I learned, the more I shared, and the more responses I began to get back from my audience saying, can you help me with this? Or, can you give me like a plan on how to turn this idea into an actual business? So I began to just literally just share everything that I knew, everything that I was learning. And the Alicia Nicole ended up becoming my main priority. I closed my then online shop to fully focus on the Alicia Nicole as, like a coaching business, and as a
Mm.
resource for other creative women. So that's like the long abbreviated version.
I love it. Uh,
Thank you.
yes, and I'm so glad that like it wasn't you started something that was your passion and that was jewelry and like doing your own
Hmm.
business, and then it evolved into something else, which is so cool because I think a lot of people usually think that they have to have it all figured out before they even take the action to begin, and I love that your story
Can you
started
hear
with
me?
jewelry and like ended in something completely different. And it's not ended,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? Like it ended up somewhere different.
Yeah. So I always like tell people that that part of my journey, I always feel like things happen for a reason, you know?
Mhm.
Like if it was never for me getting this bright idea because I couldn't find any jewelry that I actually liked, if it wasn't for that, I never would be in the position that I am now. So even though, that part of my journey has kind of ended, I'm extremely thankful for like that moment because I wouldn't be where I am today. So definitely
Absolutely.
love the process.
And you have that experience just going through that product based businesses, and you're able to relate that to what your clients are probably going through too, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I feel like a part of me is like, gosh, if you can run like a retail business or any type of like physical product business, you can do anything.
Yeah.
So
What
yeah,
were some
so
of the cool things that you learned from that you took into your coaching business?
oh gosh, customer service and also customer experience. So
Mm.
I've learned really quickly that especially if you're shipping like a physical product, people like when they are made to feel special in some way. And you can do that by, customizing like a little thank you note, throwing in like something extra like a I don't know, a new bracelet or something they weren't expecting, even something like a little extra discount on their next order. So people love to be made like they're special, like they're buying from someone and it's not just being shipped out on with 1,000 other orders. So they like to feel like
Mm-hmm.
something is being personalized. So I've been able to kind of take that into my coaching business too, with sending thank you notes or sending like my clients a custom welcome packet and a Starbucks gift card for them to enjoy their favorite drink while going through their welcome packet. So I just feel like those little personalizations really make a difference in your brand and it gets people talking about you. Like if someone was to send me a Starbucks gift card, I would be telling all of my friends, like, y'all, I don't have to spend $6 on a drink today.
Yeah.
Like that would really like make my day. So I definitely learned just giving like a really incredible customer experience. And then also customer service too. Just how to treat people, how to be really responsive, how to figure out a solution if there is a problem. Like for example, back then, if somebody's order didn't get to them in time or it didn't come the way that they thought it would come, and just being able to handle those type of situations with being like quick on your feet and not making people wait for an answer definitely taught me a lot too. So definitely I love the whole e-commerce like retail world just for like those little tidbits that it did teach me.
Awesome. So I heard you kind of talking in the first part that a lot of your clients are working past that fear. I would love
Yeah.
to kind of learn maybe what some of those clients like. Is there an overwhelming something that people are afraid of that you help coach them through, and what that is, and kind of your overarching tips that you give people to push past that fear and make their dreams happen?
Yeah, so a lot of times I've seen like a pattern over the past couple years. A lot of times it's literally just the fear of the unknown. If I
Mm.
start this business, you know, what if it gets too big? So sometimes there's like that fear of it being too successful, or what if I start this business and it completely flops or it completely fails, or if I start this business, there are 10 other people doing, the exact same thing and I'm doing. What makes me different? So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
it is the fear of the unknown. They know what they want to do. They have the urge to do it. They may even have taken like the first steps to making it happen. So maybe they have a site or, they have their social media up, but they can't get past the fact that they don't know what's next. So I really like to take some of my clients through the process of just asking them, one, what's the worst that could happen? Okay, you started this business, maybe nobody bought on the first day of your launch, and I'm like, but did you die? Like what, like
Right.
are you still living, are you still breathing? Okay, so let's go back and see what happened, what you did wrong, and what you can do better for the next day. Or they're fearful of just like falling flat on their face, or it being 1,000 other people doing the exact same things that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, there are thousands of doctors in this world who save lives every day, but that doesn't stop people from enrolling into medical school. So what's stopping you
Oh,
from starting
yeah.
this business? So yeah, it's really just getting over and figuring out deep down what that fear is kind of stemmed from. So I've learned a lot of it is just they aren't sure of what's next, and they're afraid that what they're going to try is going to fail. But I try to explain to people that failure is really just a learning curve. If I wouldn't have failed, the thousands of times that I would have failed, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I try to position that fear of failure, or even that fear of being too successful, as a way for them to learn and use it to impact their business in a more positive way, other than kind of letting it hold them back.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I have this saying that, like, I say to myself all the time that, like, no matter what, it's always going to work out. Like, it may not work out the way that you expected, but you're not, like, I love that you said you're not gonna die, because that's exactly what I have to say to myself. I'm like, okay, like, do I have a roof over my head? Like, am I eating? Do I have a loving husband? And I'm fine. Like, so what if I don't have a client or things like that, like, or I quote unquote failed, like, everything is going to be okay. And the more you can keep pushing into that space and keep doing what's in your heart and taking those actions, I feel like the better it ends up being. So it's just, I have to say that to myself all the time. So I love that you said that too.
And no, and I still say it to myself too, because I feel like that's the thing about fear, is that it's never going to go away. Fear is always going to be there in some form or fashion, but our responsibility is to figure out how to push past that fear. So even with myself, when I'm getting ready to launch something, or even when I'm about to send like an email every week, I have to like write my little self like an affirmation or something that's saying, it's okay. You're fulfilling your purpose, even if you're only doing it for one person. Yes. So yeah, I even have to like give myself little motivational tips and things like that. But I think that the biggest thing is to realize that fear is literally just an emotion. It can't hurt you. It can't physically harm you. So that's why I say, but did you die?
Yeah.
And that just like sadness and happiness and every other emotion, you can get past it. You just have to be willing to take the necessary steps to make it happen.
I love that. So, in your, like, when you wrote to me, you talked a lot about, like, how people don't know what makes them different from everybody else in their industry. And I would love for you to kind of go into ways that people can set themselves apart from their industry, and how they can kind of find that inner confidence to know that they're different and that they're offering something special to the world.
Yeah, so my first tip would definitely be to narrow down and figure out your focus. So it's a lot easier for you to be excellent at one thing if you can focus on one main why. So I like to call it like your sweet spot. Some people call it your niche, but I think sweet spot sounds a lot cooler. But it's really just figuring out a good combination of what you're interested in, what you're good at, and also what you're passionate about. And just finding like those common similarities between the three, and figuring out really just what you want your brand, your personal brand especially, to focus on. So if you can really narrow down and get really good at one thing and share your experience on that one particular topic, and share different strategies or advice on that one particular topic, you're going to be known or become known as an expert in whatever industry you're in. So yes. I definitely suggest.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna ask, what's your one thing? I think I know, but I would love for you to be like, this is it.
Yeah. So I love helping people gain clarity. I find myself doing it like with my clients like all the time. So that's really what my coaching sessions are a part of, is gaining clarity. I'm that one person that friends come to when they're like, I don't know what to do, help me. For some reason, people in like Walmart and like Target often talk to me too, just randomly out of nowhere. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's weird. But I definitely think my thing is clarity with a bit of storytelling too. But I think they're all kind of combined together. I'm interested to know, what did you think it was though? Is it the same
I
thing?
thought your one thing would be I guess the coaching, like coaching is what you're offering, but you are also, you're helping people get to the lives that they love, and like helping them working past it. So I guess it's that combination of helping people through your coaching so that they can succeed on their own terms. And that is what I seriously resonated with, because I feel like I do the same thing. But my one big, like my thing, like quote unquote, I'm doing my little air quotes here, is branding. So I kind of like, even though that is my why and my goal, I do it under the guise or the niche of being a branding expert, because I feel like that really helps people get there in a big way, even though my underlying thing is helping people kind of live joyful lives, which is what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's cool how we can have that same why, but do it in different ways through different services.
And I think that's like further proof that, you know, you can be feeling like you're supposed to do something or want to do something. And even if 10 different people do the same thing, you can still do it your way. I think we're like a perfect example of that.
Absolutely. I'm actually doing a webinar after we get off our call, like that's like all about that. So I'm so pumped, like to give people those like tactical things on like what they can do to really like stand out and live out their core. I don't know if you've been listening to the podcast a lot, but one of my huge things is people finding their core values for their life and then for their business, and using those to really inform what they bring to life. And I really truly believe that finding those core values is, and then like infusing them into your business, is what can help you differentiate yourself in the marketplace, because no one is going to have the same like personality, skill set, or those same exact values as you. And that's how you can really lead that unique business.
Exactly. I 100% agree. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm wondering if there's any challenges that have kind of like popped up as you've been growing your business. And I want to know like kind of how you've worked through them, and maybe any like lessons learned that you've had.
Yeah. So my biggest challenge that really affected me early on in my business and still kind of creeps in now, it's still just listening to those inner fears and doubts. So, like I mentioned, fear never goes anywhere, which I love helping people through, because I feel like it's something that you just have to learn how to manage. But when I first started the Alisha Nicole, even when I was starting my jewelry business as well, I felt so crippled with just the fear and the doubts of, you know, you can't do this and nobody's ever going to buy this. And who are you, you know, to be a coach? You didn't go to business school type of thing. So I really did let that fear hinder me at an early part of my brand, which is why I feel so compelled to help people through it now, because if you can't get through the fear part, you can't get through the building a business part, you know? And then the other thing too, for me, was falling for that comparison trap. And then also what was working for everyone else. So I'm a writer at heart. I absolutely adore writing, whether that be blog posts, journaling, book writing, whatever. I love it. And when I first started the Alisha Nicole, that's how I really built my brand, was through creating consistent blog posts. But as my brand grew, you know, as I began to learn about other creative entrepreneurs and how they were doing their business, I kind of got away from that. And I kind of got away from also monetizing in a way that felt really good to me, which was through coaching. So I kind of got caught up in trying to do what was working for everyone else, instead of really just focusing on my core purpose or like my core values and doing just what was working for me originally. So those are some like of the biggest challenges I think I've had to face.
So how did it affect your business when you started falling for that comparison trap and trying to kind of do what other people were doing?
Oh gosh, for one, it didn't feel good. I'm a really big person who, like, I have to feel good about what I'm doing. And a lot of the things I was doing, like, you know, creating like courses every, you know, few months, which there's nothing wrong with that. But the way I was going about it, it made me feel like I was just being a really salesy type of person, and I wasn't making that connection with my audience like I enjoyed. And I think my audience kind of felt that too. So I did lose some followers. I had somebody email me and say, "You've changed," and it kind of broke my heart a little bit.
Oh no.
Yeah, it did break my heart a little bit. I was like, I'm so sorry. And then also too, I noticed that I was starting to attract people who weren't necessarily in my target audience too. Which I like having, the numbers. I like having, the nice social media following, the nice amount of people like on my email list. But if those people aren't people who are actually genuinely interested in what I have to offer, or even me as a brand, then it's kind of pointless. So I had to get back to focusing more on quality over quantity too. So my
That's
brand,
awesome.
yeah, it kind of took a hit as far as like what I stand for, but I've really been working hard over the past year or so to get back into that place where I'm doing what I love and also serving the people that I want to attract.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
have so many feelings about this. Because so part of me, like just on a personal level in my brand, I feel like I'm trying to like I have two different audiences. I have the ones who are building these businesses who have grown and are like really truly ready to invest kind of a big dollar amount into making those dreams come true. But then I also
Mm-hmm.
have a really big heart for the people who are just starting off, who might not have like that investment money to make that big thing happen, but still definitely need that awesome brand foundation and
Mm-hmm.
finding their niche and feeling good about building their business. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've fallen prey to doing a lot of those tactics. And I'm really curious to be like, I never want to get one of those emails that you got about being
Yeah.
like, you've changed. But I like, sometimes I'm like, am I being too like blank? Like, am I being too
Mm-hmm.
salesy? Am I being too this? Am I being too that? I
Yeah.
think that's something that I'm personally working through and figuring out along the way. And I really hope, and I'm just going to choose to believe that there is a way
Mm-hmm.
to venture into some of those things that might be popular, but doing them in a way that is really uniquely you. Do you
Oh
think that
yeah.
that's
Oh
possible?
yeah. Definitely. Because
Okay.
I still no 100%. I still offer. I have courses to offer. I have workshops to offer. But I think the way that I approached it just needed to be more authentically me. I think our audiences are fairly similar. So I have people who
Mhm.
are able to invest in, let's say, like my coaching package or a higher price course, and I also have the audience that may not be ready for that but still need that value. So I
Right.
think at one point I was focusing more on one group than the other. So I've had to learn that I need to give to both. Like even though someone may not be able to purchase my big coaching package, I should still have something to give to people who aren't able to. So being able to just
Mhm.
diversify the content that I'm creating, diversifying the products or services that I'm creating as well has really helped me to make sure I'm catering to everyone in my audience so that no one feels left out or no one feels like I'm completely ignoring them because maybe they're not financially able to make this happen. So it
Mhm.
really has been with me just being more mindful of my audience and kind of taking myself out of the situation.
Yeah, definitely. I totally believe that. And actually, your about page, I'm always looking for a great about page where it really
Mm-hmm.
focuses on the audience instead
Yeah.
of just, being like, I'm so and so, and here's all the things that I do.
Yeah.
And I saw yours and I was like, yes, you got it.
Oh,
I was so
yes.
excited.
Thank you so
So
much.
yeah. So I love when you can like focus on those people and really work that into your marketing, your content,
Mhm.
and but still being like unique to who you are at the same time.
Yeah.
So so another thing I'd love for you to go over is kind of building your story into your business? I know that's something that you said you work through your clients with, and I would love for you to just give a general overview of like how you can do that if you are building your brand and maybe even defining your story, and what parts might be important to put out there.
Yeah, so storytelling is definitely one of the big ways that you can begin to stand out in your industry, especially if you feel like you're in a crowded industry or that you're kind of like drowning in a sea full of people who are doing the same exact things. So I always kind of started off with saying that people will buy from a person before they purchase from a brand. So that's why I feel like local businesses are so popular. So when you go to like your local grocery store or your local restaurant, you know that the money that you're giving them, the attention that you're giving them is going to potentially help them keep their store open for another year or help send their grandchild to school. So there's a personal attachment to that makes you loyal to that brand, that makes you loyal to that person, and it makes you want to continue to support them. Unlike, I hate using Target as an example because I absolutely adore Target, but you don't know who the CEO of Target is. If you walk into your local Target, you're never going to see the CEO. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So telling your story, making yourself a part of your audience is one of the best ways to have your brand stand out among everyone else. And it also is what makes you different too. We can go back to that conversation of everyone doing the same thing that you're doing, but you're doing it in a different way. So the best part of telling your story, or how you can begin to tell your story, is to first think about your own personal experiences regarding your niche. So I always say that not every part of your story is going to be important to tell. So it needs to be relatable to your specific audience and to your specific niche. So if your audience is currently struggling with, let's say, building their brand, you want to share the mistakes you made building your brand. You want to share your journey as someone who's building their brand. And you also want to share some strategies that you've learned along the way as well. You wouldn't want to share that part of your story about your ex-boyfriend taking the dog or taking the car, unless some way you can make that relatable to your audience. So you definitely want to dig deep and just think about the things that you've learned regarding your particular niche, regarding your particular audience. And a little tip or a little exercise that I have my clients do is I have them sit down and literally just brainstorm everything that they've learned or been through regarding their industry. So this is like sitting down with a piece of paper, setting a timer for like 10 to 15 minutes, and like just letting all your ideas or all your thoughts just hit the page. So don't stop, don't overthink it too much. Just thinking about everything that you've ever experienced regarding your industry. And then also, too, a good point of telling your story is you want to make sure that it's also actionable. So I could ramble on and on and on about how, I started my jewelry business and it kind of failed, and then I kind of revamped it, and then I started the Alisha Nicole, but none of that is going to be helpful to my audience if I don't put some type of action or action step behind it. So if I'm talking about how, let's say, how to create some sort of new product, or how my first product failed, I'm going to share that story of how my product failed, but I'm also going to give you 5 or 6 tips on how you can avoid making the same mistake, and how you can, or the right thing that you should be doing instead. So you always want to counteract your story with something actionable. So your story is what's going to draw them. Yeah, your story is what's going to draw them in. The action is what's going to keep them coming back for more. So you want to make sure that you're meant to make sure that you're connecting with them, but also giving them something that they can take away and implement into their own brand as well.
So another thing, because like this is, I love, love, love this advice. And one other thing, like just to add on top of that, one thing that I've been doing as I build out my services is actually taking the stories of my clients and turning those into like just actionable lessons, because sometimes I don't know if you run into this, but like as much as I love talking about myself, I want to like not talk about just my business all the time, because I know that my business isn't everybody's business, and usually you want more examples. So I love, I do tons of surveys behind the scenes with my clients. And one thing I love is like sharing kind of like their befores and afters, sharing their stories, like where they were at, like before we worked together, like what was their vision, and then kind of the steps that they took along the way and how they transformed their businesses in that way. And then my call to action is usually like, if you want a similar story, like contact us, we can help you out. So that's just another way, like, I think, to use that story, even if it's not your own.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's incredible. Like testimonials or like case studies are an excellent way to showcase what you do, but also showcase like other situations, because you're right. Not everybody's story is or situation is going to be the same. So it's definitely helpful to hear it from different sides too.
But I love your idea of like making sure that no matter what story you're telling, you need to make it actionable. That's great. I love that. So do you have any other, I guess, like just general tips that you would like to share with our listeners today about maybe even, here's one. So you can go into whatever, but how do you know when you're ready to work one-on-one with somebody? Like, you've done like the books and the courses and things like that, but working one-on-one is a lot different. Like, how could you know that you're ready to make that next step?
Yeah, so services was the offering services was the first way that I officially began to monetize the Alisha Nicole. I actually sold an hour of service for like $35 or something. It was ridiculous.
Yes.
So I was completely
I love those like starting out prices.
Oh yeah, like girl, you're not gonna get anywhere for $35. But yeah, so I would definitely say you'll know when you're ready when either one, your inbox is completely filled with people asking you for in-depth questions or really in-depth advice. And when you start to feel like you are spending way more time answering those questions than you are focusing on like the business side of your brand. Another way too is it depends on like what your brand is about. If you feel like your niche, and for you to give your audience the best possible strategy or the best possible advice is to work with them personally rather than working with them on a broader spectrum like a course or an ebook, then it may be time for you to just offer maybe one-on-one or even group services too. So if you feel like that's the best way for your audience to learn from you, then you could definitely, venture out and try some one-on-one services or group services. But for me, it really came from people emailing me constantly wanting like this tailored advice. And I was seeing that I was spending like 4 and 5 hours just in my inbox responding to emails. And I was like, I have to figure out how to make, some type of living from this. I love giving advice. I love helping people, but I also can't spend a full day, giving this advice. So that's kind of what led me into offering services. But yeah, definitely if you're feeling like that, or if you feel like your audience truly would get the most from you from working one-on-one, definitely venture out into it.
Nice. I would also, I'd love to ask you, this is just like, I'm almost like, yes, I want to know this. But what has been kind of like for you personally, the biggest and best way for you to get new clients or more clients? Has there been any kind of like marketing venture or anything like that that you've specifically focused on that has had a big like bang for its buck, I guess?
Yeah, so I would say content, like free content. I'm always creating like some type of blog post, some type of video. I'm really active with my newsletter, so sending out weekly newsletters as well. And I'm really good at providing free value, so value that's actually going to help my audience in some type of way, not me just rambling on. But I also make a point to mention my services, or even if it's a product, I always find a way to just kind of mention my services throughout the content that I'm creating. So I'm putting the buzz in people's ear that, you know, I do have this coaching service that will help you further along on this topic. Or I do have, you know, this new offering coming up that will, you know, really help you to take your brand to the next level. So I'm always using my content, kind of reeling people in, but then I'm finding different ways within that content to mention what I do. And then also something that has really helped me within the past year or so is offering like free, like 30 minute or so, like discovery calls. That's something I didn't do. Yeah, it's something I didn't do before, but since I've started doing it, I've seen like a major increase in the amount of clients I've been receiving. I'm noticing that a lot of people, when they go to make that type of investment, they really just want to be like double sure that it's going to be for them, that it's going to be worth their money, it's going to be worth their time. And me hopping on a call for 30 minutes kind of helps them gain that reassurance that, you know, we're going to be a good fit together and this is exactly how I can work for you. Or even, I mean, I've had some cases where, you know, we decided that we wouldn't be a good fit together, but I would like for us to figure that out before, you know, you invest your time and money in me and then you're not happy with the outcome.
Yeah,
so
definitely. And then you can kind of like help direct them into what might be helpful based on their unique situations too.
Exactly. There have been some cases where I've referred them to other friends or other coaches who I feel like would be a better fit for them. There's been some situations where I've referred them to maybe one of like my smaller products to kind of give them like a jump start before we actually begin working together. So I never want people to feel like, oh, you're just going to take my money and that's it. Like I even if we're not a good fit together, I want to provide you with something that will help you in your journey, so you're not just feeling like you're lost.
Right. I love that. It's all about just, I mean, doing your best work and putting it out there, but I think doing your best work is also telling people when it isn't going to be a great fit as well. So I think I found that people really end up respecting me a lot more when I'm like, you know what, like I would love to have like the money from working with you, but I don't want to take your money if we're not going to do great work together. So I think people really respond to that, and it's something I've done a lot of. So it's good.
Can I mention another thing real quick too?
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, I just thought about it.
Yeah, for sure.
I was gonna say too, as far as like gaining more clients, is you can't be afraid to tell people that you have spots open. Even if that's just sending like an email blast saying, "Hey, you guys, I just want to let you know I do have 3 spots available for, you know, this coaching package," or whatever, and then you are listing out the benefits of them working with you. You can't be afraid to let people know that you have spots open for new clients, because how else are they gonna know to book you, you know? So definitely just not being afraid to just send out an email, or, you know, create a couple social media graphics, just letting people know that, hey, I'm free, book me.
I know. Sometimes I'm like, I feel awkward always being like, hire me. But it is just, you do need to let people know. And I mean, you have to also realize that not everybody is going to see like every single thing that you're doing. So it's not annoying. You're literally just being able, like, putting yourself out there to the people that need you to be in their lives. And the ones that will find you. And that's the way to do it. So
exactly.
Yeah. So I guess like my last question is always the fun one, kind of, or it's like off topic, but is there anything that you are really, really loving right now, that it could be like a product or anything, like just something that you're into in life right now?
Yeah. So right now I'm a huge like book nerd. I have thousands.
Yay.
Like, I love books. So right now I'm reading You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero.
Yes.
And it's one of those books where like I might as well just color all the pages because I've highlighted so much of it. It's like a couple days ago I was supposed to be working and I was like, no, I just have to read this book. Like it's that good.
What is like the main premise of it?
Yeah, so it's really all about the mindset that we have about money and how our negative mindset can hinder us from actually making money. So she goes over like our emotions around money and gives like positive affirmations. She goes around or talks about how to not be afraid of wanting to make more money because I feel like money is such a taboo conversation sometimes. And she basically tells you it's okay to want to live a rich lifestyle, or it's okay for you to want to, you know, make the type of money that allows you to live the life that you want to live. Like there's nothing wrong with that. And she just gives some like really actionable tips of how to change your mindset, how to get over the fear of money itself, how to get comfortable with asking for money, for talking about money. So it's so good.
That's awesome. I've seen it pop up everywhere, just like on Instagram. I've had a few guests mention it. I haven't gotten to it, but I think this is the push that I need just because it's just like it keeps popping up and there's a reason. And when things like that happen, sometimes I'm just like, okay, I gotta give in and I have to go do this thing because it popped up like 8 times in my life over the past 2 months. So thank you.
It's so good. And like when you get it, get yourself a nice little notebook and like a new highlighter and ink pen because you're
a new highlighter.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Awesome. So is there anything else that you want to share with the audience before we end the podcast?
I would just like to say, out of everything that we've talked about today, I think the thing that's really going to help you to like leverage your brand or take your brand to the next level is going to be consistency. So I know we've talked about sharing our story and talking about our core values and things like that, but if we only decide to do that once every other month, then we're not going to see the results that we desire. And I say we because I have to remind myself of that too. I can't just show up one day and then say, all right, guys, I'm taking a break, and then show up 3 months down the road. Like you have to be consistent and be consistent with just genuinely sharing value and having your audience's best interest in mind. So I think that's my last little piece of advice.
So when you are doing that consistently, like I'm just going into another tangent on this. Do you have a schedule of things that you're going to be putting out, or is it something that you kind of like do as it comes to you?
So I have to plan in advance. Not too far in advance because that overwhelms me, but I try my best to, before the month even starts, I kind of look at like my calendar and say, all right, what am I going to focus on this month? And that's usually either focusing on like a theme or focusing on something that I want to launch or relaunch. So at the beginning of every month or before the month starts, I try to think about that theme, and then write down like all of my content ideas for that month, including like newsletters, including blog posts or videos. And I also try to like jot down a few bullet points for each too. I don't necessarily write them all at one time because that's something I feel like I have to kind of be in the moment to do. But at least going into the month, I have an idea of what I'm going to create. So then all I have to do is, arrange the bullet points that I've created and, create some type of call to action to go along with it. But yeah, for me, consistency means just planning in advance, even if it's not 100% planned out, fully for the month. Just having an idea of what I'm going to do helps me a ton, because if I get to, the day and I'm like, all right, I need a blog post and I have no clue what I'm going to say, I'm going to get overwhelmed and I'm going to take a nap. So I have to have some type of like loose plan in order for me to stay consistent.
I should be like this, but I'm totally the opposite. And I feel like I have to wake up in the morning and it's like, what am I inspired to do today? And it's so ridiculous. I mean, I schedule the podcast and things like that, but when it comes to posts or Instagram, or even today I'm doing this webinar, and it wasn't something I knew I was going to do yesterday, and I'm like, I'm really inspired to do this today, so I'm just making it happen. So I really aspire to be like you and have it more planned out, but it is not something that I'm doing in my life right now. So I guess I just want to tell people that it's okay if you don't as well, as long as I do believe in the consistency. So I always have, I know what I'm going to be putting out into the world, but I don't necessarily know, what the content of it will be. So I always have my Tuesday newsletter, but I kind of wake up that morning and I'm like, what do I feel like writing about? And then I kind of pop in and do other random things like this webinar today. So, and I was I was inspired to do it, so it's happening.
But I think that's awesome though. You have to find what works for you. And I think that's awesome. I wish sometimes that I could just be I'm going to go with the flow and I'm going to create this, I wish I could do that. And it happens sometimes. Sometimes I'm just this idea sucks. I'm going to do something else.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But just whatever you're feeling like. If you need to be planned out, that's good. If you're more loose about it all, that's good too. As long as you're doing it, I think that is the key point.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'd love for you to share where people can find you online.
Yeah, so you can find me at thealignedbusinessacademy.com. And I'm also at the Alisha Nicole, literally on every single social media platform.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. I loved hearing from you, and I think you gave amazing, actionable advice throughout this entire thing, and I'm so excited for people to put that to action themselves.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
Thank you to our sponsor, Audible.com, for supporting the show. Please head to audibletrial.com/pinegateroad to get a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute and head to iTunes to rate and review the show. It makes a big difference in growing the show, and I'll be here giving you a virtual high five behind the scenes. You can follow along with the studio for branding tips, advice, and general inspiration on Instagram, username pinegateroad, or by heading to pinegateroad.com for everything else happening in the studio. Sending lots of love and wishing you an awesome week. You've got this.